You have to say, why do you want to do this? How does it change your life? How does it change someone else's life? Because when you answer that question and you realize you can make a big impact, that's what causes you to change and do what it takes to get to that next level. But the first change is desire. Because whether it's 100,000 or 1 million or 10 million, you've got to have the why. Because here's the thing, it's going to take work and change, and it's not all fun. Everyone says it's so easy. You know what? It's not. It takes your own growth, it takes change, it takes work, and you have to have a reason. Otherwise, that's why people stop. The reason isn't big enough. I'll tell you a quick story to prove my point.
Welcome to another episode of From Startup to Wunderbrand with Nicholas Kuhner. Tonight we have Andrea Bullard with us. Now, I don't often get to say this, but Andrea is more Norwegian than me, and I'm not Norwegian at all. But I live in Norway, so it's very fun speaking to some Americans who've got of Norwegian stock. So, god kveld, Andrea. She is a premier coach for wealth management advisors, renowned for her experience in business development and high-performance team coaching. We're going to be chatting about her marvelous new book called Turnkey Secrets: The Ultimate Guide to Building Your Multi-Million-Dollar Wealth Management Practice, which has quickly become a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And I had a look at the reviews. These are not fake reviews. These are great reviews. So we're going to be chatting about that today. So Andrea, welcome.
Thank you. This is fun to be here, and I love meeting another Norwegian, although originated in South Africa.
Exactly. The Vikings went everywhere, I tell you.
That's right.
Another interesting little fact about you, and I think you bring this into your work, is that because you're very short, you're about 5 foot, I believe. No, you're quite tall, and you were in Division 1 volleyball at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and you had a bit of experience there and were trained under some Olympic folks and some serious athletes. And I suppose that all of that is very useful when one translated into the business world. So let's talk a little bit about this book of yours and how it came into being.
I never set about to write a book, so I'm going to tell everyone that. It wasn't my real mission to write this book. I actually wrote 18 mini books prior to this one, and they haven't even been published yet. But when I went to a publisher, he said, you need to write the book that combines all these first and then draw them out. Now, why did I write it? I really wrote this because I wanted to help advisors who really have a mission to help everyone, be able to live with financial security and not worry about money. And I think that's so important in our day and age, right? Why is anyone starting off and having a business? They have to know what to do with their money, how to avoid taxes.
If I can just stop you quickly there, because folks who don't know, I didn't mention here that this is going to be specifically for wealth management advisors and financial advisors, yeah? So that's the context that we are working in here. So this is not for bakers and accountants just yet, but I interrupted you, sorry.
Although the principles can apply to all entrepreneurs. But if we go back and we look at advisors, they have a mission, just like a baker would have a mission to, have people enjoy their bread, their cakes or cookies, or an accountant, they want to protect people. So how do you do that when you're building a business? And I wanted this book to talk about what I call the 4 pillars. I wanted to really guide them on how do you start? So if you're starting a business, what do you first need to look at? And if they don't know that vision, what are they building? And why does that matter to anyone? Because it's a different start if you want to build a skyscraper versus if you want to build a small cabin. So I always ask to people, I say, why are you doing this? Where do you want to be? And that's a very critical question, because that leads to the second pillar. Are you going to hire people? Are you not going to hire people? Who do you hire? And I have a simple theory. You can't have an A team with B players. Well, who is that? And so that leads into the third pillar, which is systems. So I don't care if you're a baker, if you're a CPA, if you're a wealth management advisor, systems will free you for time. And if you don't have them, you're reinventing the wheel every day. And the last piece is leadership. If you're going to build a team and you don't know how to lead, everything falls apart. So that's the 4 pillars of the book.
So Those sound like they make a lot of sense. Why should people trust that what you're writing is actually any use, Andrea?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started in this business way back when, and my background was really, I wanted to originally have have an Olympic team. And so I got married, got kids, came out of the workforce. So when I came into this industry, it was just sort of a freak accident. It was a friend of a friend. This brand new managing partner for an insurance company needed a right hand person. So I remember my friend came and told me he doesn't want to hire a housewife. And I laughed. I said, let him meet me. So we met and he hired me. After 2 months into the business, I said to him, I'm going to coach your financial advisors. And he laughed and he goes, you never sold insurance or investment. What makes you think you can coach? I said, because I'm watching your coaches. So they gave me two guys, and they were cobwebs on the door, been in the business years. They were really drowning. And I said, let me coach you. Well, no money exchange. And to tell you the truth, I think they'd just be nice, tapping me on the head saying, let's be nice to her. So I started coaching those two in September. Come November, one of them, their production, he was the number one guy in the whole agency. And the next year, the other man doubled his production, only worked 4 days a week. So since that time, a business has grown through referrals. Why? Because the results are there. So when someone joins me in coaching, I always say, look, when you join me, I'm your head coach, and I'm a play to win coach. I like to win, so your success is my success. So why I've grown through all these years is because people succeed. And that's the premise when I work with someone. Tell me what you want to build, and let's get there. And let's accomplish the goals you want to accomplish. That's no different than coaching a team. You get on, you're going to coach a team. Do they win the game? Do you not win the game? And I take that same philosophy and apply it to the entrepreneur, the wealth management advisor, and the CEO.
I've been in a position to hire quite a lot of people in my career, and whenever I've had to look at CVs of people who have done things, I always look at the extracurricular or sports side in terms of, have they been in a competitive sporting team? Have they been a captain? Have they played provincially? Because that will, or from statewide, because that will show you that this is somebody who can take punishment, has got discipline, has got a winning attitude. And those are the kind of folks, as you said, you want an A team with A players, not B players. Let's talk a little bit about some successes you've had with your coaching. You mentioned those two great examples in the beginning with the cobwebs in the doorway and these folks being able to get out of their shell. Are you best one-on-one with folks or teams?
Great question. So when someone comes on board and they want to come on board teaching, let's say they have a team, I don't just coach them, I coach them and their team. And here's why. I'll say, if we're a team and we're going to build systems, why would I just coach you? Well, your team is going to implement the systems, so I coach all of them. And this is how you get a high performing team. Because my philosophy about any entrepreneur, the people that work for you are part of your team. And think about this, you want them to be motivated. This is part of the game plan I give people. What are the goals? They can't be just the owner's goals. It has to be everyone's goals. What are they? And what do you do? What do you personally do? Whatever your task is, your role is, that helps to the goal. And I think that's the game changer, because who likes just coming into a job and doing tasks? I mean, that's like not motivating. I do my tasks, I get paid, and I leave. Everything changes when you come in and you're motivated. We all know the game and we celebrate the game. I'll give you a great example. Through a referral, because my business has grown through referral, CEO contacted me, and he, ready for this? He was a manufacturer of cars. Now, what do I know about cars? Nothing. As long as it gets me from A to B, I'm happy. My husband would say something different, but that's me. So I started talking with him, and I said, okay, what are the goals? And so we set the goals. I said, now let's get everyone in the manufacturing involved in this. What's their role? How do they impact this bottom line? So we created quarterly contests. Everyone was involved. Everyone knew the goals. They got recognized. They got rewards. We made a game out of it. That year, his business grew by 20%, his best year in the business. Now, I didn't help him manufacture cars because I didn't know anything about engineering. But here's what I did know. His people knew about that. You see, the power is in the people in the seats. When they got motivated and we asked them to think, they added value. So he wasn't doing all the lifting by himself. He wasn't just managing these people. He was now leading these people. And he was recognizing them. And they became part of a game. So let me just share one thing with the listeners. What I learned through, I remember this one Olympic coach was watching me because I had a national rated track team. He was watching one of my practices. And when he was done, he said, "Do you mind if I give you some advice?" I said, "All open, love it." And so you all know suicides. Do you remember when you're on a basketball court, you'd be on the end line? For anyone that doesn't, you're on an end line and you run to the quarter line, you come back to the end line, you run to the half court line, come back to the end line, run 3/4, come back and run the whole court and come back. All right, imagine doing that. Well, many times you do 10 sets of 10 and you tell your team to do that. That's what I did with my team. He said, "Let's change it. Make a game out of it. When you make a game out of it, you're going to get more out of your team. It'll be fun." So he said, break it up into teams, have a race, and the team that wins, I think we gave them ice cream. They had more fun, they ran faster, and I got more out of it. I take that principle to companies. Let's make a game out of things that they do. It's game changing.
Yeah.
So even winning the game at the end of the year and having a celebration, they all love it.
Well, I suppose it's bringing those little celebrations are important. And if you think back to sort of human history, there would be, they'd go and kill a mammoth, and then there'd be the celebrate, probably, running around the village with the tusks or so on,
Yes.
and celebrating the hunters, or celebrating the fall, or celebrating the moon coming out. All these little celebrations are quite useful to get that, what we call gees, which means a spirit within that team. Is there a difference between coaching a team that is not doing particularly well and needs coaching versus a team that thinks they're doing really well and need coaching?
Yes. Okay, so I'll give you an example. There's a team that came on board about 8 months ago. And really, the advisor, after I came and went to their office at the end of a half a day of what I call mastermind day, she started crying. And she goes, "I don't like coming into work. I don't know if I can do this. This team is miserable. They're quitting." And they were. It was negative. It was miserable. It was everything. So what do you do if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an advisor, and that's happening to you? Well, first of all, it goes back to what? The fourth pillar, leadership. And I went back, I said, this goes back to leadership. We have to go back and reset these goals. We have to go back and look at every system that you're doing. And we've got to get this team excited. Well, what happened is I started coaching them because I had to take her out of leading. I started leading the team. We had a bad apple. Actually, we had two bad apples. And one thing I learned from world-class coaches, they always said one thing: one bad apple will and can destroy your team. Just destroy it. So I'm not in the business of firing people. I'd probably quit what I do because that would be miserable. Tried everything to turn this one person around, everything. It just didn't work. So I think when it doesn't work, here's great leadership. You can try and try and try, but when someone doesn't turn around and there's that negative spirit, in truth, it's really better for them that they go to another company. They'll be happier. Why should they be miserable and the team be miserable? So we let one person go. We changed one person around. We got new excited players on the team because this person understood who they needed to hire, started leading it. This team is now on fire and they're starting to hit their goals. So a big part of for wealth management advisors for any company, you've got to look at, if everyone's miserable, it goes back to your leadership. You can't say they're coming in with a negative attitude. Well, guess what? Who owns that? You do. You own it. You need to look at that. Are you allowing a bad apple to exist? Because I coach team members. I've had team members say to me, "You know what? It's miserable coming in work and I can't do anything about it, so I'm just giving up."
Mm. Next question I want to ask you about is I chat to a lot of folks who talk about scaling a business from 6 figures to 7 figures and 10xing business and that. Is there a difference between a 6 figure business mentality and a 7 figure business mentality? How hungry do you need to be or lucky do you need to be a 7 figure business?
So let's talk about mindset of where you, the leader, want to go. What I've experienced working with some of the best of the best that have 7 figures and beyond, right? Here's what you need to do. You have to have an insatiable desire to always climb and get to that next level. So again, it takes that leadership. And if someone doesn't, if they say, okay, I want to make 100,000 and they're there, and that's good enough, and their lifestyle is there, why would they build bigger? If they're stuck there and they come to me and say, well, I want to get to the next level, the first question I ask them is why? Go back to that vision, that first pillar. Tell me how your world's going to change. And they have to answer that first. Because I have a simple philosophy. This sounds very bold, but I mean this. For the right reason, I can get anyone to do anything. I remember saying this, and I was giving a seminar, and the CEO was sitting in the back, and he stood up when I said that, and he screamed out, he goes, I don't believe you. I said, okay. I said, do you mind standing up and we'll talk about it? And he goes, sure. I said, okay, let's play a game. And I said, I'm going to apologize for the game we're going to play first. And he said, all right, I'll play. I said, okay, we're going to go to New York City, you and I. I said, I'm going to be on one tall building, real tall. You're going to be on the other building, a mile away. I'm going to put a wire in between. I said, now, I'm going to ask you to climb that wire. You can't have any ropes, anything. It's just you, your sneakers, your sweatpants, whatever you're going to wear, and your hands. You climb it. If I give you $1 million, you're going to climb it. He goes, no. I said, by the way, the winds are blowing 60 miles an hour. We're up high. I said, if I gave you 5 million, would you climb it? No. I said, 10. No. And finally he screams out, I wouldn't climb it for anything. I said, okay, I get that. Now I'm changing the scenario. You're on the building, I'm on the other building. I have your 2 kids. You don't climb it, they're going over. You gonna climb? You know the answer.
Mm.
Now, that's a very rude and mean scenario. I get that. But why do I bring that up? To answer your question, how to get bigger, you have to say, why do you want to do this? How does it change your life? How does it change someone else's life? Because when you answer that question and you realize you can make a big impact, that's what causes you to change and do what it takes to get to that next level. But the first change is desire. Because whether it's 100,000 or 1 million or 10 million, you've got to have the why. Because here's the thing, it's going to take work and change. And it's not all fun. Everyone says it's so easy. You know what? It's not. It takes your own growth, it takes change, it takes worth. And you have to have a reason. Otherwise, that's why people stop. The reason isn't big enough. I'll tell you a quick story to prove my point. There's a guy that came to me when I first started. He was maybe in the business 8 years. And he said, I heard about you. You've doubled and tripled people's business. I've been in this business 8 years. I have 2 kids, and I'm starving. Help. So I chatted with him. I said, all right, I'll coach you. So after about a month, I said to him, when's the last time you had vacation? And he goes, what are you talking about? I want you to get my business up. I don't have any money. I said, I know, but I said, just stay with me. When do you have a vacation? He said, I haven't had one in 8 years. I said, really? I said, well, where would you go? And he got really frustrated with me. Finally, I got out of him. He wanted to go to the Middle East, and he would take his family. I said, okay, great. Book the flight today. And he went crazy. And I said, okay, let's stop the session. We came back. I said, here's the deal. You don't book that trip today, and I'm not coaching you anymore. And I remember he turned by. I said, make the decision. Now, to anyone listening to this, I knew that if he booked the flights, it wasn't going to bankrupt this guy, right? But here's what happened to him. He called a week later. He said, all right, okay, I booked the flights. And this was March, and he booked flights for November. Now, imagine that was you. You'd get excited because this is your dream trip, but you'd be nervous because of the money issue. That year, he tripled his business. A true story. Why? He had no reason. We don't wake up at 3 in the morning to pay our bills. You wake up at 3 in the morning to go on a trip, don't you? You're excited about that. We all know that. So give yourself the why, the bigger why. And the bigger why is what makes people do things, the bigger, exciting why. And so I have to give that to people. They have to answer why.
And so many people don't know what their why is. And I totally feel your stories and I love it. And I think sometimes people need that little insight. It's almost like a guru that gives this very simple guidance or idea, like what is in the middle of an acorn or things like that. So I really love that. And I think that's so valuable. And I look at myself. I mean, when I started out my branding business, I had this big vision. And guess what? Everything happened. I didn't have anything that I needed to get it done, but I literally made $1 million business in 2 years by myself. And now I'm a teacher. I've got quite a nice, peaceful life. And I'm like Odysseus, where I've beaten the Minotaur. I've avoided those sirens on the island. And now I'm looking for my next thing because right now I'm quite comfortable. I could make another $1 million in a couple of months, but my motivation, I don't have it right there at the moment. And, I can see that talking to somebody like you would say, listen, Nicholas, you'd come up with some cunning plan to trick my mind into saying, wait a minute, or to awaken something that is latent in me. And I love that so much. So that's super exciting. So let's talk about it. If you had to have an ideal client call you up, who would that be?
Be the client that very coachable. I think that's probably one of the key things. Some people will call me and maybe they're down, they heard about me. And I'm a person of big heart and I really always see the greatness in people. I always see that and above and beyond. But as long as they call me and they're coachable, that's a person I really want to work with. It could be someone that's stuck and they really have a desire to get to the next level and say, I'll do what it takes. It could be someone like you that says, you know what, I've already made $1 million, but I'm kind of coasting. And like I always say to you, oh, Andrea, I don't have to worry about it. I'm already living the dream. I'll say, no, that was yesterday's dream. You're living life today. What's tomorrow's dream, right? I think coachable, it has to be people I like. I like working with people I enjoy working with. If personalities don't fit, then it's probably not enjoyable for them. It's not enjoyable for me because I like to have fun doing this. If it's a wealth management advisor, if someone calls me and they tap their pen and they say, what can you do for me? I'll say, I don't know. What do you want me to do for you? You know that person. Everyone knows that person. They tap
Yeah.
people like I'm supposed to dance. It doesn't work that way.
Excellent. Well, I'm slightly motivated now to think about okay, Nicholas, get your act together and think about something. So I might have to read this book on Turnkey Secrets, the ultimate guide to building your multi-million dollar wealth management practice. And I think you could swap out management practice with something else as well, based on our chat before we started the call.
Definitely you can do that. And I think that's the thing I want every entrepreneur to know. Those 4 pillars, your vision, your A team, your systems, and your leadership are for anyone. Anyone. And I'm going to say one last thing about your vision. So I'm going to ask you something really cheeky. This is a cheeky question that opens up the heavens for people. So I'll tell you the story. This happened about 5 years ago. I was talking to a wealth management advisor. And like you, he goes, he said, my wife works. She has a big job. She's fabulous at what she does, making a lot of money. And I've been in the business. I'm making $250,000. So between the two of us, we got enough money. Life is good. And so I started chatting about what did he really want. And I realized he at the time had a little girl and he really loved to travel. Right? That was his big thing. So I said to him, I said, what would happen if you could build this business and you didn't have to be there if you didn't want to be? And then I remember him pause. He was just silent. And he goes, can I do that? I said, yeah, it's a different vision. It's a different business model. He goes, let's go do it. So that man went from, he had one staff person and himself making $250,000. 4 years later, he had 3 staff people making $1.4 million. And when he came into his office every day, all he did was see people and he left and he could take a month off anytime he wanted to. Now that's a bigger vision, isn't it?
Well, I don't want to say I kind of do that already.
I love it.
So, but I've done that. So I've done the where I don't need to go into the office every day. But now I'm kind of feeling I enjoyed the winning. I want to win again. So I want to be like, I won't say names on here to ostracize anyone, but I like winning. So I want to go and sell and I want to, have those aha moments in clients' heads. So that's probably the exciting bit for me. But I think your storytelling is marvelous. I can see you've done an education background because you're very structured, very organized. And I can imagine that any work that you do with somebody is going to have some kind of pedagogical framework in terms of taking people through steps and making it very clear and understandable for them. So this is not something that is just higgledy-piggledy
No.
made up things. So I'm quite confident of that. Where am I going to send people to find out more about you, Andrea?
So they can go to my website, which is my name, andreabullard.com. They can order the book there. It's free shipping. Even though it's on Amazon, I always like to send people there. And I'll make this offer. If someone is interested in the next level, I'll give them a free business call just to chat with them for a half hour or so and give them some ideas moving forward. I love to do that.
Marvelous. Well, I'll put that link in the description as well so that folks can go both to get the book on Amazon, see your website, and organize that call with you. Andrea, it's been an absolute treat chatting to you. And I do hope that folks look at this and think if they need that kick in the butt, the firecracker, whatever other examples we can use, a sparke I rumpa, which means a kick in the butt in Norwegian, they will get in touch with you to take them to that next level. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And everyone, play to win. Think big. Love it. Thanks, Nicholas.
To watch this episode live, go to our YouTube channel or visit kuhne.no, that's kuhne.no, for more details.